I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into The Locker Room. Joining me on this Tuesday morning. Welcome in. Listen, if you want to stay up to date with everything The Locker Room has going on, there's only one way and one way only to do that, and that is to follow us on our social media. And I know I say this all the time, but if you want a ton of exclusive content, you must be following our social medias. TLR Podcast 615 on all of our media platforms, and then The Locker Room on YouTube. Listen, a ton of exclusive shows that air weekly only on certain medias, so follow us on there so you can be a part of it all. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com, that is fnxfit.com, for all, and I mean all, of your gym and supplement needs. Everything made here in the USA, which makes it even better, but from recoveries to pre-workouts to post-workouts, everything you need, vitamins, clothing, everything you need. Did I say everything you need? Because they have everything you need. And if you use your promo code TLRHOST, that is TLRHOST, you will receive 15% off your first order. Okay, I know we have done a ton of NFL stuff, a ton of football stuff on the podcast as of late. And I say we, I mean me. There's been a ton of football subjects, especially the last couple weeks. And I know some of you have been asking me, hey, are things going to change up? Yeah, things change up. The beautiful thing about this podcast is I kind of just make it up as I go along. But today I really do want to talk about something that I find very interesting, and some of you at home might not care, and a lot of you probably might not care. But I'm of course, you all know I'm a big fight fan. We have Puncher's Chance with co-host Steven Hines. We're going to be announcing a new one of those coming up soon, and this one is going to be a live show. So very excited about that. But that's besides the point. There's an interesting subject here. We're talking about the MMA trying to form a players union, kind of like the NBA and the NFL. And we're going to dive into that here in just a second. And then, of course, we are going to talk the NFL. You have to get my week one reactions from the NFL. I attended the Titans home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. I've got some hilarious quotes from Josh Hodge that I'm going to read here in just a little bit. I've talked to several people who watched the game. Listen, the NFL was wild. There was something, I think it was 8 or 9 underdogs ended up winning on Sunday. And then, of course, we had the OT thriller with the Ravens versus the Raiders in opening stadium, and Bruce Buffer's talking. I mean, the NFL weekend is wild, and I'm excited to talk about it. But before that, let's get into this big MMA topic that literally just came out today. Well, not really today. It's been talked about for a long time, but it's starting to break. The last couple of days, they're starting to actually break hard evidence that this is trending towards happening. So let's talk about this. So what a lot of people don't know is that the UFC does not have a players rep, a players union, like the NBA, like the NFL, like literally every sport, right? The UFC is very unique and has been very unique because it has been built on individuals striving for their own success as opposed to a team striving for success, as opposed to, a group of players striving for success. It's very intriguing the way MMA has been built up and how Dana White has done it and how it's been so successful. Dana White, when he first started out, right? When he first started grinding this out and trying to build the UFC into now, of course, what it is today, the greatest mixed martial arts event in the entire world, he wasn't just looking for good fighters back then. Now he has the luxury of just looking for good fighters. And I know personality and traits still play a part of it in today's fight game. But people are more excited now that we're knowledgeable about the sport, are more excited for a great fight more than we are a trash talker. And the only reason I'm saying all of that is to give you an insight as to what the UFC used to be. It's starting to change now. It still is this way a little bit, but it's starting to change now. The UFC used to be built on individuals striving for their own personal success and gain. Independent contractors, if you will. Dana White would say, hey, I want to sign Billy. Billy, you're really good at punching people in the face. I'm going to sign you to a 3-fight deal. You need to make sure that those 3 fights are worth my money. And if you don't, perform at the end of the 3 fights, goodbye, Billy. So it started, and the UFC started in its uniqueness in the sense that, listen, these guys were literally working 2 jobs just to get an opportunity to fight in the UFC. There were stories of people that literally worked at Texas Roadhouse and were professionally ranked fighters. It's a true story. There's stories of guys like Stipe Miocic. Now, I know he does it out of the love of it, but who is literally a firefighter Monday through Friday and then is a trained world champion killer on the weekends. Guys like Kimbo Slice, Jorge Masvidal, literally fought on the street for cash so they could survive, so they could not be homeless for a night, they could get a hotel, so they could have their next meal, and built their way up into, of course, being UFC stars, and rest in peace, Kimbo Slice. Still he was one of my first fighters I ever knew and kind of got to know the backstory to, and that's kind of what intrigued me so much is the fact that this guy literally used his fists to make sure that his family was going to be taken care of and that he could support for his family. And, and it was remarkable to see him literally a homeless man, now a star in UFC events. But the way the UFC is structured, it's very individualistic. There's no group of fighters that get to make decisions. There's not a group of fighters that get to talk about what kind of insurance they want. There's not a group of fighters that have a singular voice that get to bring that voice to Dana White. Everything has been built on, from the very beginning of the UFC, individuals, individual personalities, individual stars. Everything that the UFC has done has been built on individuals. From George St. Pierre, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, Yoel Romero, like guys that have just been around for 1,000 years. It was back in their day, and I know it's probably crazy for them to see what's going on now. It was all built on just, hey, listen, this is my one opportunity, my one shot. Whoever I have to almost murder to continue to get my one shot and to continue to get paid by the UFC is what I have to do. And the crazy part is back then the money wasn't good. I mean, back then you had people working 2 full-time jobs. They would train in the evenings and then they would work at Walmart and bag groceries. That's another true story of a fighter who was a nationally ranked fighter, like 10th in the world, who was literally bagging groceries at the local Dollar General. And I know I'm kind of all over the place, so let me settle this down and put it into step-by-step terms. So because there is no universal voice for the fighters, because there has never been a fighters union, because these fighters have never been, it's just never been in anybody's minds. They've never come together. They've always been taught to look out for themselves, to train, themselves to be great, to keep everything so individualistic that it's caused a lot of problems. And we have things like fighters that can't that don't have insurance through the UFC and have 7 concussions and need to be talking to doctors and getting checkups, but they don't have the insurance. We have fighters that were world champions and great fighters, and literally because the money was never regulated by a fighters union, don't have the money that some of these big name fighters have, and look at them now. There's problems that get caused when everything is so individualistic. And listen, I'm not hating on Dana White or anything. I think it was a very smart business model for its time. The UFC didn't have all the money in the world. They couldn't put 10 fighters, they couldn't pay 10 fighters 10 guaranteed contracts with all these different bonuses every single fight. I mean, the UFC was still growing. So I understand why it started out the way it did. Very individualistic. Everything was, hey, you get whatever, $25,000 to fight in the main event, and now they're making, $1.7, $1.8 million to fight in the main events. And what time has shown us is that the MMA does need a player's rep, a player's union. They do need group healthcare. They do need the opportunity to have a successful life after the UFC. I mean, the stories that I'm talking about of guys literally working at Texas Roadhouse and being ranked fighters is not as long ago as you want it to be. So I get that this business model has worked for Dana White, and it's been amazing for the UFC for so long. But it's time for the players, I call them players, it's time for the fighters to finally get their player representation, to get everything in order. And this isn't about, the boss is making $20 and I'm only going to make $1. This isn't about, I'm not even talking and arguing about the money. Although money does need to be regulated in the UFC. And listen, the UFC, it's tough, especially in pay-per-view buys, because a guy like Conor McGregor, a megastar, is always going to outsell Justin Gaethje. Some of you are like, who the hell is Justin Gaethje? Exactly, right? So I get that there's going to be fluctuation based on who the fighter is. There's always going to be, especially in the UFC, some sort of individualization. There has to be. Otherwise, you don't have fighters. It's an individual sport. You don't have 6 guys out there all fighting at the same time in 3v3. It's an individual sport. So I think what Dana White and all this noise that's happening is these fighters are finally done. They want to finally start a fighters union, a fighters representation, so that way they can have a voice to go against Dana White and push the conversation and regulate things and get group insurance. And that is what they need to do. So the conversation has come up this week that the fighters are finally going to form a union. The fighters are finally going to get player representation and try and even the playing field. The reason I think it's important for these fighters to finally come together and do this and have a universal voice against the company, and it's not necessarily against the company, to work with the company is the best way to put that. Because I don't think Dana White has, I don't know him personally, but he's taken care of a lot of guys in the UFC. And he's a brilliant businessman, and I'm a big Dana White fan. But these players have never had a universal voice together. Everything's always been individual. But for some things, you need that universal voice, I guess is the best way to put that. Sometimes you need unity, sometimes you don't. Guess what? When you're promoting a fight, you don't care about another fighter on that stage. If I'm Conor McGregor, I don't care about Khabib, Justin Gaethje. I don't care about any of these guys. Michael Chandler, doesn't matter. I'm Conor McGregor. I'm coming out there and I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. When it comes to promoting the fights, you need individuality. When it comes to having star fighters, you need individuality. Good grief. You need the Sean O'Malley's. You need the Conor McGregors. You need these guys in order to promote the fights, in order to sell the fights, in order to keep the fans excited. You need big personalities. There's a reason that with all the troubles that Conor McGregor causes the UFC, with all the troubles that Conor McGregor causes for himself, with the language and everything, like, there's a reason every single time Conor McGregor walks into that octagon, he's going to sell out arenas and do massive pay-per-views. It's because people like to watch exciting, crazy people that are going to punch each other in the face. There's a reason guys like Khabib were selling out pay-per-views. There's a reason that you have, Stipe Miocic, you have all these massive big-name guys selling out these pay-per-views and arenas because people love the individualistic aspects of these guys. Like, everybody wants to know that Stipe Miocic is an average Joe, works at his firehouse, works whatever shift he's given. He's a firefighter by day. He's a fighter on the weekends. People want to see Conor McGregor saying outlandish, crazy, wild things. People want to watch this stuff. People want to see Sean O'Malley with what color hair he's going to be wearing to the octagon next time. People love the individuality, and I think that is probably the most unique part of the UFC. But what these UFC fighters have done in harm of not coming together is they don't have proper insurance. They don't have opportunities to get insurance a lot of the times. They don't have a voice that can talk to Dana White about more equal opportunity and more equal pay for some of these, undercard fighters, some of these guys that are, ranked 8th and back. I mean, if you're ranked, there was a guy who was ranked 15th in the world, and he was still working at Texas Roadhouse in the evenings to pay his bills. That's where I'm on the side of having an MMA union representation. Now, I am not all for the MMA player representation if it is going to change the individual aspects of these players. If we're going to start being like the NBA, if we're going to start being like the NFL, where you're being told what to say, you're being told what to put on your helmet, you're being told how you should act, then guess what? The UFC loses what's most important to me about the UFC, and that is the fact that the UFC, you can say and be whoever you want to be. You can be your normal self. You don't have to put on this fake act. You don't have to go out there and tell me some dumbass inspirational speech, after a loss because your sponsors are telling you to, or because we have to bring politics into sports. I am all for it. Listen, let these people be people. Let these people be people. We're just getting an insight to their job. We just get to watch their job on TV. That's it. Let these people continue to be people. When you have guys like Colby Covington dressed in all Make America Great Again gear, and then you have Tyron Woodley who only said Black Lives Matter for an entire interview, that's something special that you can have those two guys on the same stage in the same atmosphere. And guess what? The media doesn't talk about that because no one wants to talk about stuff that's good. It is good to have differences of opinions as long as those opinions, aren't harmful. But it is good to be able to be individualistic, and that is something that has been so good for the UFC and has launched the UFC, because a lot of the UFC's fans, a lot of people that enjoy the UFC are blue-collar people that just go to work, they're their normal individual selves, and they want to see people that are their normal individual selves. You're going to have some showmanship, you're going to have the bright light stars, but at the end of the day, the UFC has been built on individuals' personalities, and the uniqueness of being able to blend that into an environment that doesn't damage the integrity of it. So I truly believe that these fighters do need to come together and make sure that they are getting themselves taken care of physically, mentally, whether that's insurance, whether it's with pay, whatever it is. Having that singular voice, having a MMA union will help all of that be sorted out and help spread the wealth, help them after they're done with their careers. Listen, that is very important, but don't let it change the individual aspects that make the UFC as great as it is.
And that's the way the news goes.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little NFL, and then we're going to sum up the day with a Gatorade versus Powerade debate. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second, but let's talk a little NFL. First off, so I was very excited. One of my very good friends, Josh Hodge, invited me to go to the Tennessee Titans game. I'd never been to an opening day game ever in my life. I was very excited. Listen, there's a lot of high hopes for the Titans this year. I had a brand new Titan shirt that I needed to wear out in public anyways, and so I was jazzed up. I'm like, let's go, Titans game, early. It's supposed to be beautiful outside, which it was, and I was very excited. So, we get into the stadium. We go get some hot chicken, which first off, if you're already going to be sitting in the sun and it's 89 degrees, almost 90 degrees. Fun fact, don't get hot chicken. Don't. I don't care how good it sounds. I don't care that Nashville is based in the hot chicken land. I don't give a damn. Do not get hot chicken. Because guess what? You not only will be sweating, but your mouth will be sweating. And that is a feeling that I will never want to feel again. I mean, I even got the mild. I was like, I can handle the mild, I like spice. I can handle the mild. I'm good. So we go get the hot chicken. Then we have to carry it up the world's longest ramps to get to our seats. And actually, they're pretty darn good seats. We had 50-yard line seats. And if you're ever in the 50-yard line realm, it doesn't matter if you're at the top or the bottom. You just have an incredible view. So thank you for the free tickets, Josh. But so we walk up the world's longest ramp. 7 days later, we finally get to the top of this ramp, get to our seats, sitting down. It's 91 degrees at the start of kickoff, and I'm sitting there eating hot chicken like a dumbass. So that was already I knew when I got to that point in the day where I'm sitting there eating hot chicken, my beer's literally already hot because it's so hot outside. I was like, man, this just feels like it's going to be bad. It just feels like this is going to be tough. And it was. It was a very bad day. So the game gets started. Very excited. I lost my voice at the end of the first quarter because I was screaming like an insane person. I mean, people were looking at me. That's how insane I was being. But listen, if you're ever with me at an Oregon Ducks game, at any kind of sporting event, I mean, you decided to bring me, right? Josh, you decided to bring me. If you're ever around me at a Ducks game, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. There's a lot of dancing. There's a lot of hugging. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be screaming. There's going to be probably a lot of swearing. I mean, that's just how I am at a ball game. So at the end of the first quarter, my voice is already gone. There's already been some hiccups, just craziness, missed field goals. It's 10-0. I'm like, all right, this is fine. Like, Titans are going to get right back in this. This game's going to be a lot of fun. And then they proceeded to get their asses kicked the rest of the day. And I'm also somebody, I should point this out as well, who I don't like to lose. And when I lose, I'm impossible. So guess what? We just sat there. I mean, we're down 38-13 at this point with like 4 minutes to go. And we're still in the blazing sun. I'm sweating. So I'm mad because I'm sweating, but I won't get out of the sun. That's how my logic was working on Sunday. Everybody around us is gone. We are one of 5 people that aren't players still in the building. Like, if I'm being honest. And we just grinded it out all the way till the end. We accepted the ass whooping like men, and then we bitched about it the whole way home. I mean, here's what I'm going to say. That was one of the most gutless, spineless performances I've ever seen from a Titans team. And I've seen a lot of very bad Tennessee Titans teams. I've never seen a Mike Vrabel team give up so easily in my entire life. I've never seen a Mike Vrabel team be so undisciplined, be so attitude. I mean, it was like having 5-year-olds on the field. Taylor Lewan, if I could ever get to meet you, get to talk to you, you got great tattoos. The podcast is awesome. Do you want to play football or do you want a podcast would be my first question. If you tell me, well, I'm a football player first, and I'd be like, great. Then stop being a raging 13-year-old every time you get beat off the line. If I saw him throw his helmet once, I saw him throw his helmet twice. If I watched him let his quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, get sacked once, I saw it 5 times because I think that was the total that got sacked all day by Chandler Jones. And he just lets his quarterback, I mean, this is the thing that pissed me off the most. He lets Ryan Tannehill get trucked. And I mean just lit up. And he rips off his helmet at the 50-yard line and just walks back to the sidelines cussing and swearing. Guess what, Taylor Lewan? You have to be better. You have been praised not only by, of course, by Titans fans, but by media. You're one of the better linemen in the entire league, blah, 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 blah. Listen, you're either a podcaster or you're a football player. And if you're a football player, you better start practicing like you want to be a football player and not like you want to be a podcaster. To me, it's like he's already got a foot out the door. He's already got a foot out the door. He's ready to just be in the podcast world. Well, guess what? If you're going to be a part of the team, if you're going to try and block for your quarterback, how about you stop being a spineless weasel and you help your quarterback up after you let Chandler Jones beat you not once, not twice, not 3, not 4, but 5 times for the day? That's my first thing for Taylor Lewan. My second thing, and I'm not going to stay on the Titans too long because we got a ton of NFL teams to go to. This just so happened to be the game that I was at. Second thing, I don't know who calls the plays for the Tennessee Titans. Maybe someone can put it down in the comments below. But whoever that is, give the clipboard over to a 12-year-old because they would have done a better job. I mean, it was, hey, you know what the toughest part of this defensive line is? They're like, yeah, Chandler Jones. They're like, great, let's run stretch left 4 times in a row. And when Derrick Henry gets knocked in the backfield all 4 times, we'll try it again. And guess what? We were predictable, guys. We passed on 3rd down every time. So Taylor Lewan just really upset me. I just hated his demeanor. The offensive play calling was atrocious. The Tennessee Titans had a gutless performance, and Mike Vrabel had every reason in the press conference to go after Julio Jones, to go after Taylor Lewan, to go after his team. And I'm tired of everybody going, oh, he said some mean things. Do you think that Julio should be upset? Do you think him and Julio need to work it out? It's like, these are grown-ass men. Can we just agree that they're grown-ass men? This is a grown-ass man's sport, so be a grown-up and learn to take your ass whooping like a man. This media is driving me up a wall. Oh, he was saying some mean stuff. Maybe that should have been said private. Oh, shut up. This is what football is. Bill Belichick is one of the douchiest people in the world. Guess what? Man's got like 5 or 6 Super Bowls. I can't even keep track. He's won so many at this point. A little tough coaching's never hurt anybody, and that's something Chris Broussard said, someone I very much respect in the sports industry. You need a little tough coaching from time to time. Can we stop babying these grown men? So, first takeaway from the week, was I impressed by the Cardinals? They were fine. I was more mind blown at how awful and how unprepared the Tennessee Titans are. And I think the biggest takeaway from the Tennessee Titans game for week 1, if I had one, is preseason snaps do matter. Even if it's only 15, 20, or 30 of them. Preseason snaps do matter because everybody who's had preseason snaps seem to do a much better job. I get Julio sitting out because he's hurt. Not Ryan Tannehill, not Ryan Fursker, not whoever. Derrick Henry can sit out. Great. A.J. Brown, if you're hurt, if you're hurt, I get it. But if you're not hurt, go get a couple snaps in. There's no reason Derrick Henry shouldn't have had 1 or 2 touches. Julio, if he's not hurt, shouldn't have had 1 or 2 touches. I get it if you're hurt. But Ryan Tannehill should have been out there. At least 10, 15 snaps a game. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Ryan Tannehill should be playing as much as Patrick Mahomes did in preseason. Just a fact. Good teams play in the preseason. It's just a fact. And I heard someone say to me actually last night that these players should play the entire preseason. That's not so smart, but they need to have at least a few snaps. Biggest takeaway, they were unprepared for game 1. Expect a big bounce back for week 2. Another big surprise. Oh, man. What's up, Green Bay? Oh, man. Oh, man. What's up, Aaron Rodgers? What's up, guys? What's going on in Green Bay? For those of you who are like, well, he's being way too excited for this. From Chicago, okay? So watching Green Bay crash and burn is like someone gave me a Christmas present early. If that Christmas present was the entire Packers organization burning and crashing to the ground, and then them just pointing the blame at each other in the after press conference, if I could say that even properly. What this proved, biggest takeaway from week 1 from the Green Bay game, what this proved is not that Green Bay's a bad team. Green Bay's a bad organization. What this proved is that the off-field drama from this year had an effect on not only Aaron Rodgers, but had an effect on the team and all the entire coaching staff, to the owners, to everybody. I've never seen a quarterback hate an entire organization in my life. Usually it's one guy. Usually it's 2 guys. Or, a head coach here or there. I've never seen a quarterback that's playing for an organization just be like, listen, I hate all of Green Bay. All of you, I hate you, and I'm going to just chuck footballs out of bounds and play terrible every Sunday because I hate you that much. It looked like that's what Aaron was trying to do. It looked like Aaron walked out there and said, listen, I've got a man bun. I've got a scruffy beard. I'm 7 years younger than Tom Brady, and I still look like I'm 1,000 years older than him. And I'm just going to be bad at the position of quarterback today. I'm just going to, all of Green Bay can suck it because I'm just going to play terrible. So the biggest takeaway has to be off-field things matter. Off-field things matter. It has to matter. If off-field things don't matter, then why is the entire Packers organization and Aaron Rodgers still feuding? Why is Aaron Rodgers still trashing his head coach? Why is Aaron Rodgers still in such a knockdown drag-out with the organization that they're basically not even on speaking terms? Barely takes the blame for anything. That has a weighing effect on, if you talk to anybody that's played professional sports. Shannon Sharp mentioned it on Undisputed. He said that does have a lasting effect on the locker room, and he's seen that destroy locker rooms and destroy teams for years to come. So, biggest takeaway is that stuff matters, and it showed. Another takeaway from week 1. Fly, Eagles, fly. Okay? Jalen Hurts might be all right. Biggest takeaway, the Eagles still have a chance at that division. That's how bad that division is. Listen, do I think that they had a great game on Sunday? Yes. Do I think the Falcons are one of the worst teams in football and arguably could have the first overall pick? Absolutely I do. Do I think that this is going to continue for the Eagles? I don't know. I kind of am starting to believe in Jalen Hurts. He had some really nice balls. Oh, man. He threw some really nice balls. I'm just saying. That division is so bad that the Eagles could be very sneaky and get in there and maybe even win that division. I'm excited to see what Doug Peterson has these guys up for in the upcoming weeks. But definitely, biggest takeaway, don't count out the Eagles in that division. What about the Chargers versus WTFers? A biggest takeaway for me, Justin Herbert could be on MVP level this year. This is not just because Justin Herbert is a former Oregon Duck who beat Ohio State this week. Just saying, it happened. So let's process that. Let's get excited together. Let's high five through the microphone. Boom, go Ducks. But this has nothing to do with Justin Herbert being a former Oregon Duck. And I honestly only picked this matchup for the simple fact that I truly believe that Justin Herbert could be on MVP level. 337 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Justin Herbert has the potential in this offensive setup with Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. In this offensive setup, Justin Herbert has a very strong case to be an MVP at the end of the season. I'm going to say that now. Biggest takeaway is Justin Herbert's the real deal. Justin Herbert is a potential MVP candidate this year. If the guy's going to be putting up 300-plus yards every single game, and he's going to be beating teams like the WTFers who have one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's what a lot of people don't know. Best defensive line in football, that's for sure. But very impressed with Justin Herbert, very impressed with this Chargers group. I think they're going to make a little bit of a noise and could be a sneaky team to even make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm not going to go that far just yet because it is only week 1. Another surprising thing, another takeaway from week 1. Sam Darnold can play. Sam Darnold can play football. 279 yards and a touchdown. Efficient, that's all he needed to be. Panthers played good defense. Listen, Jets have an explosive guy in Zach Wilson at the quarterback position. I am not I don't care about the Jets, but I was never a Zach Wilson fan. My brother was very high on him. But Zach Wilson, watching this kid play, the kid's got an arm. He's got a special arm, though. His arm talent's crazy. I mean, he had, 260 and 2 touchdowns and an interception? That's pretty darn good for a rookie. So I was impressed with Zach Wilson. But biggest takeaway is Sam Darnold can play football. The big question coming into this game, this big question coming into this season for Sam Darnold is he a crappy quarterback because he played for the Jets and they had nobody? Or is he just a plain crappy quarterback? And I think he got that answered. I was very impressed with how he played. I thought he managed the offense just fine. Sam Darnold can play football. And I said it at the beginning of the year that I think he's going to have the best years of his career in Carolina. They're going to just set him up for success. They're not going to make it hard on him. Matt Rule is a very good head coach, and he's seeming to put a good game plan into place, which is utilize Christian McCaffrey, the second or first best running back in the NFL, and just make Sam Darnold be a very good game manager who has deep ball potential. So I was very impressed with that. Another week 1 takeaway, Burrow is back. My takeaway is that Joe Burrow is back. And what I mean by back is I don't mean he's physically back, because of course he's physically back. But 260 yards, only missed 7 passes, 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, okay? I was nervous to admit that, but I truly believe that Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. I truly believe that Joe Burrow has something special. Joe Burrow has a special arm talent. He has a special football IQ. I like this kid. You could see flashes of it at LSU, but honestly, he was just so much better than everybody at LSU, and their team was so much better than everybody that, college is very hard to judge. And he was lighting it up last year before he got hurt. But Burrow is finally back, and he played at a very high level. I really, really like Joe Burrow this year. He's a sleeper in fantasy. If you have a Joe Burrow sighting out there and he's free, I would grab him because he's a great second-string quarterback to have. Last takeaway of week 1. I know if I didn't get to your team, I'll get to them throughout the year. We've got a long season. 17 games, 16 left, but 17-game season gives room for a lot of NFL talk that will happen every single week. But final takeaway, Andy Dalton sucks. All right, so I got into a debate earlier this week with somebody. Gatorade over Powerade. There's only one right answer to this because, listen, it's my show and I get to tell you what I think the right answer is. But this is definitely something that I'm going to be bringing up on the Instagram later on in this week. So make sure that you follow the Locker Room Podcast 615 on Instagram, TLR Podcast 615 on Instagram, because this is going to be a fun topic, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a ton of people battling in and out of this one. But here's how it works. Gatorade, you have two flavors. The red Gatorade, which is probably my favorite. And then secondly, not the blue Gatorade, but the light blue Gatorade. I think it's called like Glacier Breeze or Glacier Freeze, something like that. So red Gatorade, light blue Gatorade. Everything else, every other color, every single one, all of them, every singular one, every color that is not light blue from Gatorade and red from Gatorade, every one of those goes to Powerade. So you have those two flavors for Gatorade. Everything else is Powerade. Purple, yellow, white. I don't even know how many other Powerade colors there are. Green, there's so many of them. But every other color, every other flavor go that way. You want to know why? Because if you try any Gatorade that is not the light blue one or the red one, it tastes the same. They literally put the same crap in a bottle. They put a little bit of different coloring in it, and you're just like, oh, this one tastes like, Purple Breeze. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It just tastes like the red one, except it's colored purple. That's it. The Powerade ones have different flavors. Every single one of those has a unique flavor. The purple Powerade is fire, by the way. Straight fire. And I know what some of you are saying. Like, have you ever had the dark blue Gatorade? You're not going to maybe even kind of possibly throw that one in there? No, the answer is no. That's my lineup. Red Gatorade, light blue Gatorade, and then all the other flavors have got to be Powerade. I'll tell you a quick funny story, and then we'll get out of here for the day. So when I was playing, of course, sports in high school, I was a big Powerade person over Gatorade, or a big Gatorade, of course, if it was my flavors or Powerade. And so I said, hey, I want a red Gatorade. Told my dad, hey, I want a red Gatorade. So I'm playing, doing my thing on the court, dropping like 7.5 points a game like I do. And my dad brought me red Powerade, but he put it in my cup and thought that I wouldn't notice. And this is how big of a freak I am. Maybe I shouldn't tell you how big of a psychopath I am or how great my palate is. I'll turn this into some sort of a compliment for myself. Like, hey, I've got a great palate. But no, my crazy ass. So I'm in the game, go to the bench, and unscrew the top of my drink, start drinking it, and I just spit red Powerade all over the floor. I don't know what it is. I just hate the taste of the red Powerade. It just kind of tastes like cough syrup to me. I'm a crazy person. I get that. So I spewed it all over. So my coach is pissed because, there's red Powerade on the floor. And he's like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? Like, did someone poison your Gatorade? Is that why you're spitting it all over the floor? And I was like, first off, sir, if this was Gatorade, it wouldn't be all over the floor. If it was, Gatorade, I'd actually be drinking it right now. But that's how big of a crazy person I am between my Gatorade and Powerade, is the fact that my dad could literally fill it up in a blank bottle, same color, same texture, and I could tell the difference because the red Powerade is terrible, the red Gatorade is the best. So there's just a quick crazy story for you. Other than that, that's what I've got for you today. And it's a little bit shorter show, but listen, we got a ton of content that's dropping weekly now. College Pick'ems is back, Take Fives are back, TikTok's back into getting heavy. So I'm doing so much here that I'm trying not to just get all the good stuff out on the podcast, okay? But we're actually talking about expanding the show into 2 podcasts. I'm going to put a little vote out there. We're starting to grow a little bit more and more each week, which is super, super exciting. Thank you to all the new listeners. Thank you to all the returning listeners. But let me know. Hit me up on all my social medias. DM me if you want to hear more of the Locker Room Podcast version, not just social media stuff and not just short content that happens throughout the week. Let me know, because I'm seriously consider opening up to a couple shows a week. So very excited about making those decisions. Other than that, this is what I got to leave you with. Follow me on my social media, because I got a bunch of free, fun, exciting content and big giveaways every single week that you can be a part of. Once again, guys and gals, I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room.